it starts growing, it creates this really beautiful, but very quickly it's getting into distortion. The challenge with feedback is that it's extremely hard to control unless you design an instrument from the ground up to be feedback controlling machine. Welcome synth heads, Roy here, Synth UX Academy. In this video we're going to talk about feedback, and in particular interesting feedback, the one that you would want to play. If you don't know why you would want to play feedback, this video might not be for you, or you did not discover a whole world of magic that you might want to stick in to learn about. Feedback can be something you want to avoid. If you have a microphone, you're trying to speak and it starts squeaking, that's because the microphone is close to the speaker and it feeds back, and maybe it's a bit hard to explain. Let me show you on the guitar in the back. Let's take this electric guitar and take this Valve Junior amplifier. To here? I hope my neighbors, they're not going to be happy, but I'm going to keep this short. Just going to take a power chord A, and that's how it sounds like. But as soon as I get close to the amp, I get feedback. You hear all these harmonics? And then you can move to another chord, which will generate other harmonics, obviously. It's super hard to control. If you're on stage, it's a lot of fun. Well, you get the idea. Let me show you another example before we get to the really interesting stuff. This here is your rack system, and I can control I have a bunch of modules that actually have a stereo in and stereo out, right? So it's basically two inputs and two outputs. So I could connect my output into the 2 HP reverb, for instance, and then take the other output and feed it back into the input. Let's see what happens. If I turn on the volume, it starts growing and it creates this really beautiful... Yeah, it's really hard to control. Like, yeah, this is the volume, but very quickly it's getting into distortion. Again, the challenge with feedback is that it's extremely hard to control unless you design an instrument from the ground up to be feedback controlling machine. I'm smiling because like I don't know if there is something more nerdy than designing something like this, but hey, you know, this is our new synth. It's called Audrey II, and it's inspired by horror and resonance and feedback. And allow me to just quickly set up here so I can show you exactly how it works. Let's dive in. This is Audrey II. And at the core of Audrey II, we have a Carplus-Strong synthesis engine. So Carplus-Strong, if you are not familiar with the history of synthesis, is in 1983, when I was born, Kevin Carplus and Alex Strong designed this algorithm that allows us to feed a burst of noise into a delay line with feedback, which basically creates this realistic decay effect. And in that way, we can actually model a string sound that really sounds natural. Now, what we did here is we fed it into reverb and then into a filter. So let's listen to the filter, because if you think about it, the filter is basically shaping that object that we've designed, the one that we're resonating. So if we bring the high pass up, we're basically cutting all the low frequencies. We're going to get these squeaky sounds. And if we cut the low frequencies, we can actually resonate on low frequencies. So actually, cutting the high frequencies with the low pass. And now we're resonating the low frequencies. We didn't touch the reverb yet. We can change the frequency of the object. And then we can touch this knob. It's called body. And I will not try to explain what it does, because this is the magic that maybe Nick Donaldson, who actually designed the engine here, can explain in another video. But we can get to really interesting sounds by moving it. You're basically playing with the harmonics between these two filters. I'm hoping that you guys are listening to this with headphones, because the stereo image here is absolutely amazing. Now, okay, so this is the basics, right? But now, before this goes into the filter, we can actually go into the reverb. And you know, these are the kind of things that you can only do with digital, right? Because you're basically, the filter is defining the characteristics of the object itself. But before we even do that, we go into a reverb. This is the size of the room, so let's bring that up a little bit. And what's interesting here is that even if we're not going to go feedback much, like if this knob is still going to be quite low here, and the filter is going to be open, it should actually generate. Let's see. Wow. So it's as if I am like getting close and further away from my speaker. And you can really like capture like what I'm doing now, like capture these moments where it sounds really interesting and you play with that distance and you control it with these two knobs. Now you've obviously noticed that there is a tape delay in the back. Let's wait for it to grow again into the room. And change the speed of the tape delay. You could get to these really interesting, eerie details. And of course, when something is so aggressive in its core, I mean, this is feedback, you can get to really insane results as well. So let's try to play that as well. The further we go with this knob up, the more distortion we feed. We actually add distortion into the signal chain. And you've got Jimi Hendrix on stage. This tape delay, by the way, is the same one that we have on Simple Touch effects. It was actually designed for this instrument first, but this came out before. Alright, before I wrap this up, I just want to show you one last thing. This is the size of the room in the reverb, and I'm just going to extend it really high and then send that signal into this room. Now, this is already oscillating and it will get really big. If I'll just leave it like this, it's just going to grow naturally because the size of the room is actually really important in that sense. If you think about it, the resonance is going to be reflective based on the how far the walls are from the device that is generating the initial burst. But I'm going to push this a bit so it takes a bit less time. You can already hear how it's brought in. And you're sort of feeding it, which I found really interesting. This is a very different kind of feedback than the one that we had earlier, because now it's the whole room that is resonating. And I really love how tactile and slow this instrument is. I mean, it can be all wacky and you can make all sorts of noise and sounds and music with it, obviously. But you can also discover these fine-tuned harmonics that can inspire you to take your track to a completely different place. Like, listen to this. There's like ba-da growing in the back, and then you can just move the body a little bit, and it's going to disappear into the room, while another one is going to replace it. So it's really a matter of like discovering these notes that are hidden in that virtual room we're creating here. I find this really inspiring. Talking about inspiration, I just want to give a huge shout out to Nick Donaldson from Infrasonic Audio, who designed the code that you're hearing here. Nick has been a part of the community for a couple of years now, really from the get-go, and shared a lot of digital signal processing knowledge, open source projects, and absolutely changed the way, or like shaped the way that we're working in the community. So Nick, thank you so much. And also to anyone else in the community. If you guys are not familiar with SynthUX community, we're basically a non-profit organization based in Rotterdam in the Netherlands. And we design instruments together, bring them to life. You can come, learn, share your own knowledge, and work with these devices that we designed. So this is basically, let me just focus my camera. Yeah, so you can see that the internal board inside here is this modular board that we came up with that allows you to design your own interface, and you can come up with lots of different instruments based on that. This is another one from Lucas Bonvin, which is absolutely crazy. All of them are based on the same board inside. Yeah, but that's a story for another video. So thank you so much for watching, and go grab one of these. When you buy one of these, you're basically supporting the community, and this is huge. This is amazing. Thank you. I'll see you guys in the next video.